not just in Ukrainian Vogue. She's used this for the Microsoft, AI ad where, she's utilizing, I guess, the AI goggles, and she has that palm up sort of pose. Muchachos y muchachas, I cannot believe that I completely forgot to make this video, and it's a few months too late, but it's okay. I'm pretty sure you're still going to find the subject pretty interesting. So let's talk a little bit about Marina Abramovic and her involvement with Ukraine. So if you don't know who Marina Abramovic is, she actually came to the masses' attention about 2 years ago. She did this weird Microsoft ad advertising AI, but as people were getting more acquainted with who she was connected to, the type of performance art that she does, then people started to really wow, catch on. I'm just going to say that it's weird. The reason why is because the type of art media that she uses is strange and morbid, like blood, animal parts, flesh. And then she uses a lot of occultic kind of symbolism in her art and performance art. She's actually a performance artist / artist. I don't know how that, whatever. But I would have to say, to be honest with you, she's probably more of the elite's renowned artist, because before 2020, I had no idea who she was or the type of art she did or anything like that. But anyway, with this, I think back when the Ukraine and Russian conflict started brewing earlier this year, a lot of people... you saw a lot of people in lockstep just flock to, stand with Ukraine and the Ukrainian flags and stuff like that. And a lot of people, didn't really question it. And we had just come out of the past 2 years full of all of this propagandized, lockstep propaganda or agendas, things that they, the elites really wanted us to follow. So a lot of people were just really confused, because all of a sudden it was everybody was support Ukraine, without truly knowing, and I mean this in a very wholehearted way, without truly knowing what the conflict was, what the historical factors were behind this conflict, right? And so anyway, when everybody was in lockstep, I'm talking about celebrities, politicians, everybody who's everybody and everybody's mama, right? They were just this was the narrative and you must support it. And Marina Abramovic was one of those people. And so when she came out with her support video for Ukraine, a lot of people took a step back.
My name is Marina Abramovic. I was born in Yugoslavia, a country which thrived on the cultures from the West and Russia from the East. Last years, I work in Ukraine, and I get to know the people there. They're proud, they're strong, and they're dignified. I have a full solidarity with them in this impossible day. Attack to Ukraine is attack to all of us, is attack to humanity, and have to be stopped.
And speaking of elitists, you don't have to do weird things like they do to appear younger. You can just use the serum that I've been using, which is a natural ingredient. It is a very great serum that I've been using for a year now. One pump goes a long way. This reduces sagging skin, crow's feet. It's an anti-aging serum, and you can get one at 𝘏𝘠𝘬𝘪𝘚.com. And with this particular, what I really love about this company is that they actually donate meals to hungry kids. So it's a great product to support. That's 𝘏𝘠𝘬𝘪𝘚.com to help combat aging. So Marina actually, she helped construct this wall in Ukraine. And I thought that this was pretty interesting with her, you know, again, intricacy with world leaders, like, again, royalty, in this case, President Zelensky. But she constructed this wall called the 𝘏𝘶𝘮𝘢 𝘏 and it's an interactive installation and erected in Ukraine's capital to commemorate Jewish people who were killed in one of the biggest massacres during the Holocaust, during World War II. Now, it was unveiled, and President Zelensky and then also the president of Israel, they kind of commemorated this wall of what is it, the crystal wall of crying.
Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky and Israeli President Yitzhak Herzog attended the official commemoration ceremony of the victims of the 𝘏𝘏𝘮 massacre on Wednesday evening.
On Wednesday evening, the Israeli and Ukrainian presidents gathered for an official ceremony for the unveiling of a new interactive memorial, Crystal Wall of Crying, by world-renowned performance artist Marina Abramovic. The wall is meant to be a symbolic extension of the Wailing Wall in Jerusalem and incorporates crystals from the Ukraine and Brazil in an interactive installation. The 40-meter-long structure now stands in a park built over the site of the 𝘏𝘏𝘮 ravine.
It's a really wall for healing, and it's wall to remember, and it's wall to public to actually interact all the time. It's not something, I don't like monuments that you have the huge monument and you stand in the front and you look to the monument. And it's just like you're voyeur. Here, you have to touch, you have to interact, you have to turn, and you have to, you know, confront yourself with yourself and your own memory. So it's a very different way of seeing art and seeing the monuments.
So in her art installations, what kind of freaks me out a little bit is the fact that she hones in so much about, it's not that it's a bad thing to heal, but she hones in a lot about healing and stare at the, you know, stare at this, stare at that. She actually did an exhibition where people would go to this museum. She was sitting there for like, I think days. I think that's true, for days, and people would just go as an art exhibition, sit down in front of her and just stare into her eyes. Like, it's stuff like that, staring into things and objects, and, you know, so anyway. And so she talks about this wall of healing and that the crystals are supposed to heal you. She did another exhibition where there was like crystals and the chairs and stuff like that. And I don't know, like, for me personally, when it's like, when you're finding healing in objects, for me personally, I just find it a little weird. I just get weirded out by that because, you know, it's, and I don't mean it in a like non-medicinal way. I mean like finding healing in objects and depending on those objects to find your healing. So the fact that she hones in on that so much is just, I don't know, it just kind of freaks me out a little bit. But that is, it's interesting that, again, her touches and her, you know, connections with all of these elite people and creating and erecting all of these performance pieces. And it's just strange that she is a renowned artist for the elite. Now, another thing that I wanted to bring up with her work in Ukraine was a fashion shoot she did with Vogue. And this was for Vogue's Vogue Ukraine. So the Ukrainian, I guess, chapter of Vogue or whatever. So she did this really morbid, and it's nothing that is surprising to me because, of course, Marina has this style, like I said, where it's very macabre, morbid, kind of deathly. Now, I just want to point out these pictures that come from Vogue. This is going to be the model, 𝘏𝘶𝘮𝘢, who actually did this photo shoot with Marina Abramovic. You know, as you can see, the first, it is pretty goth, you know, and I'm not necessarily, you know, I don't necessarily deter from goth. I mean, obviously, I'm wearing black, okay? I wear a lot of black. But it's not, so, like, something like this to me is, like, fashion, kind of fashionista, very edgy, you know, I don't necessarily have a problem with that. But as you proceed through these pictures, you can see that it turns a little bit darker and more macabre. You can see 𝘏𝘶𝘮𝘢 here with two skulls, you know, kind of making this X. Again, dressed in black, and that even isn't so bad, but it gets even darker when you see this model with a sickle and a hammer, you know. And what does that remind you of? What kind of symbolism does that remind you of, right? It just looks like the saint of death, along with, the communistic symbolism. I mean, it's just kind of strange, right? I don't know. And that might be in their artistic expression, and I'm just being insensitive. But yeah, and it doesn't get any better, right? So you see the same model, and what seems to be, she's cradling a gas mask, and inside that gas mask, I'm just going to make an assumption that this is the object that you're going to see later on. But I believe that this is the head of an animal. If you zoom in a little bit closer, you can see kind of the fur kind of just in the gas mask. I mean, again, yeah, it's. And, Marina then appears in her own respect with her photo shoot. Some photos are fashion oriented. The theme of her eyeliner, which is red, does continue to echo throughout the photo shoot. It does seem, again, just very theatrical and just very... I don't know how to describe it. Kind of creeps me out. The red eyeliner. I don't know. Just red eyeliner all around. But as they have this collaboration together, this model and Marina, you can see that it gets a lot more morbid and a lot more just very gory. I'm going to blur this out for the sake of YouTube, but what you're seeing in front of you is basically Marina cradling the model, 𝘏𝘶𝘮𝘢. And I think the symbolism of her hand, there's something there. Obviously, she's communicating something. I don't believe this is just a pose. I believe that this has something to do with like her spirit cooking type of stuff, her rituals. But what is blurred out in front of you that the model is kind of cradling her body with are human organs. And there's another one where, Marina is basically dissecting this model out in the open. She's on what seems to be like a morgue table, and there's a bunch of these same like organs. And, of course I blurred it out for nudity as well as the just gore of all this. But tell me that's not weird, right? Just her dissecting a human being on a table. And it seems to be like, I made this point in my last video with Hollywood and the morbid cakes. It seems to be like these elitists and the artists that they're connected to, like they love just like gore. The cakes at that gala that she held, that Marina held, they had the same color as the insides of a human. And so they would go and cut up these cakes. And it was just like very strange, this obsession with, their obsession with gore. But yeah, you can see that she's basically performing this dissection. And again, it does seem very ritualistic. And you can see that Marina uses this pose quite a bit. It's not just in Ukrainian Vogue. She's used this for the Microsoft, AI ad where, she's utilizing, I guess, the AI goggles, and she has that palm up sort of pose. So I don't know what that is in particular, but I find it very, again, just very creepy that, this is some sort of like symbolism to her for some reason. Now, this is probably the most creepiest part, and this is why I left it last, because this was actually one of the, it's kind of like an interactive installation that kind of plays on the cover shoot of the entire magazine. But let's start with the cover of the magazine. So you see here that Marina, she's kind of, she has her hands rested on the model's shoulders. They're both wearing red. The themes seem to be red and black. And I have nothing against like particular colors, you know what I mean? At all. That I don't find like colors, like I don't get scared by colors. It's the monochromatic use of red, and the red that is that seems to be shared in a motif of the way that the shoot carries out, if that makes any sense. So we're talking about dissection and, you know, the morbidity of people. There's even one shoot of the model who has the sickle, and it seems to be like, it's in black and white, but I'm going to imagine that that's blood or something like that. So you can see some sort of themes in that. And so I'm just kind of grabbing that from the theme, where it just, that is the part that creeps me out. It's not necessarily colors, but it's like what it's used in tandem with the rest of the photo shoot. And then you see in tandem with the cover, it seems to be like kind of this play on play theme, where Marina has this solo shoot. And, you know, she has this goat's head where, you know, I have to blur this out because it is that gory, but you can see pretty much everything of the goat underneath the skin, right? So, I mean, it's just, like I said, like the macabre, the gore, the fact that you have to display human organs as a form of art piece, and you're consistently doing this throughout your art. I mean, it's kind of weird. But the most interesting part that I want to show you is the fact that if you overlay the solo shoot with Marina and the goat head with the photo cover, and you overlay it, look at the symbolism. And I don't know if this was intended by the, you know, art direction of this entire shoot, but it just seems a little bit coincidental that this forms a form of pentagram with an actual goat, you know, carried at the center of a Marina Abramovich's chest, the way that it would exist in a pentagram, the way that the arms are pointed, you know, on both photographs, and the way that it forms this pentagram. I mean, this could be just my imagination. It could just be, you know, something that is coincidental, but I don't find it coincidental. So anyway, this was from Vogue Ukraine. So I found that very interesting, just the fact that this woman is so connected, that she gets these big jobs, she's friends with these big people, and that she did this type of artwork in Ukraine's, or performance artistry. I don't know what to call it. But anyway, guys, that's the video. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Did you know this about Marina Abramovic being in Ukraine and all the work and people she's connected to? Let me know if you'd like to see more of these type of videos, you know, kind of delving into these weird things and people. I love you guys. I will catch you in the next video.